Happening? Okay. Great. Hey, Brad, how are you?
Hey, doing well. Thanks for having me.
So, where are you operating from? What town? Are you operating from Sacramento, you told me?
Yep. I'm in one of the neighborhoods of Sacramento, Northern California. Really dig it here.
Great. And that is your, what is it? Like your office creation music studio is just a corner of your house? What is it?
It's actually, this was one of the main reasons why I got sold on moving here. I lived in San Francisco for 10 years. I moved in 2018. But we bought this house here that it's 2 stories, but then it has also a finished basement that's like that spans the entire floor plan of the place. So I have this really big music room. I don't know if this view.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, you can't see much more, but I mean, this is just half the room, and then there's a door here, and there's a whole other, like, we have a guest room in there. But yeah, I love it down here. I can just have a much bigger, more comfortable spread, and my productivity like shot up because I basically had like a closet in San Francisco that I was like using every, I could have never expanded this big. My system also blew up since I got here, but
that's the main problem. That's the downside of it, both the upside and downside.
Yeah, exactly.
So I randomly caught in your YouTube channel, and my mind exploded as I was telling you offline, because it was one of the first time that I saw like someone approaching modular synthesis and building a modular that actually it's made for like a proper composition from stop to from beginning to end with key changes and with like proper pattern nesting and like drums that get off tempo, and it's like almost like DAW worth, So my first question is how. So first of all, I want to know how you got into modular. When did you get into modular? What was your learning process, and then we move on into more details. When did you start?
Yeah. I got into modular about 7 or 8 years ago, and I think trying to remember, like, I think just through YouTube. I was getting into hardware sense and stuff. And then of course looking for cool videos of those on YouTube. I started catching wind of modular. And I like bought a little Dopefer wooden case and like 3 or 4 modules that were completely wrong. I couldn't do anything with it, and I like freaked out and like sold it all, and then did some more research, and then I ended up getting, when Make Noise was transitioning to their all black panel stuff. There was this period where you could get this banging deal on their systems that were like kind of a mishmash of silver and black panel. I mean, it was like I think $1,000 less or something than the regular price. So I ended up like jumping on that, and I'm so happy I did, because not only are, you know, Make Noise modules just really cool and made to kind of all work together, but the documentation that they do that comes with their modulars are like not just technical. There's like tons of creative inspiration, and especially if you get the shared system, it's got just tons of patch ideas for using everything together. So you know, I was really happy to like, it kind of, I learned all the mechanics and the language of modular through that system. And then it just kind of grew from there and kept growing and growing. And then maybe in 2018, I think, you know, I was kind of like a little, you know, I continued to have like, I've got, you can't see it, but like a stack of vintage hardware stuff over here. Like I've got a Juno 60, a DX7, and then I have it's not vintage, but I have the reissue Model D. So it's kind of like, you know, making music in both worlds. And then I hit this point where I was like, not using my modular as much, and I considered like, should I just kind of get out of it and focus on hardware stuff? And I made the mistake of like, well, like what's new, you know, what's going on in the modular world? And then around that time as well is when I discovered like what Colin Benders was doing. And I just kind of hit this point where I was like, okay, you know, like I was like I said, I was on the point of like, should I get out of it? And I just decided like, you know, I need to have a focus for my system. And what really appeals to me is making this singular system to which I can make entire songs and perform them all within the box. So like, I mean, other than inputting, you know, I play my melodies because I'm like, come from a keyboard background, and I like to play. That's how I hear my melodies. I like to play them. Other than like this input into my modular, I mean, it is 100%. It doesn't interact with software. It's completely contained. So, like, like, you know, with the plan that, you know, once we can start doing live music again in public, that you know, that I can just pack this up and I can take it and plug it in. Not that that's going to be an easy task, but and it'll just completely play, no computer, you know, nothing.
What would you say that in the last couple of years, or like when you said that 2018 was a crucial year for you, you know, to decide of getting rid of everything, or actually, what would you say are the key modules that really changed, you know, in your will, and actually that allow you to go more into full modular and
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the key modules are so my main sequencers, and I have, maybe I'll switch to my...
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, other view. Not that you can see the detail, but basically, and we can get into this later if we can get into more of the details of like
for sure.
how I...
With patch ideas and sound,
the next step to... But like, basically, my system is like 2 systems in one. And because so far, like the stuff I've put out, it's been singular songs, right? And that was kind of my first goal, right? Is have a system that I can write and perform a song from start to finish. But then my ultimate goal was, how do I have, you know, 3, 4, 5, as many songs as I want, patched simultaneously, and then I can play a whole live show with like, you know, completely discrete songs, not just kind of like, I think the common thing, and I'm not knocking it at all, because it's just very hard with the limitation of modular. Like the common thing for live performance is that like you kind of just stretch one big song out, for 20, 30 minutes. Because it's just so hard to like really have truly discrete songs. But that was the challenge that excited me. So basically, Hermod is my sequencer of choice, and I have 4 of them. But it's really like because I have basically like, think of like a DJ. How two turntables, and then like it shares the resources of the mixer. So basically, I have like 2 clocks, 2 sequencers, and then 2 symphonians, and then between that, they share. Else is shared.
That's why I'm not able to find a symphonion everywhere. And I even wrote to the guy, there's someone buying all the symphonions. I'm joking. Go ahead. Sorry. So everything double.
Exactly. So it's like I've got these 2 kind of main brains, and then those share all the mixing and all my voices, and then modulation and that kind of stuff. But to get back to the question you asked, I mean, I think the things that enabled me to do what I wanted to do was Hermod, because it allows me to record, in terms of time, unquantized melodies. And that just really like unlocked my ability to get what was in my head into my system. Like I struggle. I mean, I tried every sequencer under the sun, and just like any sort of step programming just didn't work for me. I felt like I was always like doing math in my head, and occasionally I would stumble upon something that I wasn't intending to do and I would like, but like that was just too slow of working for me. So the main thing with Hermod is that I can, plug just any old USB keyboard into it, and then I just play naturally, and it just records, just kind of like playing into Ableton, right? And then the second thing, and I wouldn't put one of these as more important than the other, is like the combination of them is the symphonion itself. That just took, like, I struggled for so long, like trying to use multiple discrete quantizers, and then it's like,
listen,
how do I get everything to change, I don't want to cut you at the same time?
I don't want to cut you off, sorry, but I'm in the same process right now, and it was a joke, but it was not a joke actually about searching for a symphonion, because I think that's going to be solving all my problems. I have a Harmonig, from Instro, which is great, but it's not complete, it's all, and then also it operates in a weird way. I watched all the videos about the symphonion, and it's so straightforward just by looking at, at how it operates and on the panel, that I can't wait to get one. So go on, about the symphonion.
Yeah, totally. I mean, exactly. I had a Harmonig as well, and again, it's great, but it's still kind of like contained for one voice, or like making your chords. So it's like, great, I can quantize chords, I can quantize individual notes, individual voices, but like really a song is about the harmony between all that. And don't get me wrong, like you could do some really complex stuff to make these discrete parts work, but at that point it's like, sure, the symphony is expensive, I mean, it's like $800 or $900,
or $1,000,
in order to create, it's like, in order to create, to buy all the stuff that it equals, it would cost way more to get by those as individual parts, right? And then it still wouldn't work together as well. So that was really like the symphonion, like that was the key that unlocked the music making side.
So let's just remember what symphonion does for people. Maybe they know what a quantizer is, but it's not only a quantizer, it's also an arpeggiator, a gauge generator. So tell us like quickly, or you can even show something if you want, like
so it's a 4-voice quantizer. 3 of those voices are mono, and then it generates CV for a 4-voice chord pad, and it has then an arpeggio generator.
Wow.
And kind of the way that it's the concept behind it. It's like the creator, Matthias, he's a musician at heart, and you can just tell this thing was built from like a musician's perspective first. And so it's the way that, at least that I interpret it, is that it's built around like the concept of chord progressions. And you don't have to know music theory to use it. I mean, that's kind of like the point of a quantizer in some sense. But if you know, some basics about music theory, I think that really unlocks it. And so to me, it's like it changed me from thinking about, when I'm writing music, like discrete things, like, oh, this is my bass line and this is my lead line and these are my chords. Like all those things are, in order to make harmony, like all those things need to be in harmony. And really when it comes down to it, it's like that comes down to like, as the chord progression happens in a song, whether intentional or not, to make it sound consonant and not dissonant, like you're going to be playing notes that fall within the chord that, within a certain chord. So it kind of forces you to start thinking about writing your music in terms of the chord progression. And once you do, then it just kind of makes it really convenient and easy to keep multiple voices all kind of in harmony with the chord you're currently playing at that given time.
Can you show us something just
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, I've got a couple things prepared, but so let me I can just kind of play a little bit on this. I'm going to switch off my mic and go to my system.
That's cool. And basically, even the Arturia that you were playing probably through the her mod was then subsequently quantized by the ACL.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So let me talk about that. So so it's kind of like it's I kind of had to like learn how to like basically play anticipating the quantization to happen, but it's actually really simple. Basically just and I can get into like what I'm doing with these pressure points here, which is how I'm controlling Symphonian. So basically what I do is I've programmed in Symphonian is also a sequencer too.
Yeah.
So you can pick chords and then it has an internal sequencer to which you can sequence your chord progressions.
Yeah.
Right. But what I do is instead of sending in a clock and having a clock sequence those, I set up my steps that would be sequenced if a clock was hitting Symphonian. But then I have each of these pads will jump to a particular step.
Yeah.
I just added a third pressure points here, and I'll say why. But I used to just have 2, and what that gave me was I would pick a key, and then I would for each of these steps I would pick all of the chords that
of the progression
appear in a particular scale, right? So, for example, like I'm in just C major right now, so it's like C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G dominant, A minor, and I usually like do a substitution for the diminished.
For the
and then I've got then the root again 1 octave higher.
Well,
and then I added this third one so that I can play like. These are the same chords as these, but like the octave below.
Okay, cool.
So it just lets me like get my progressions. Like I can kind of go up and down the octave.
You have just the right space for a brains right there. I see it on the right on the right of the performance mixer. There's like a space that you can move and put the brains and then sequence all these chord changes again.
Exactly. I could do that exactly. Yeah. But that's kind of like I kind of thought when I kind of got this system in place where I'm like, okay, this is how I'll control the chords, and then I kind of always assumed then eventually I would sequence the chords, right? But as I started to like figure out like how I was gonna perform, I just kind of decided that I actually really like that hands-on place of playing the chord progression, and it lets me improvise too, because it's like it's keeping all the voices in harmony, so I could switch up the chord progression if I wanted to at any point, right? So I really like that.
It's actually a smart way of actually integrating, you know, live performance. It's not only about playing a solo and a lead, but also being able to change the chords whenever you want and having the ACL following with all the quantization. So it's actually inspiring, you know. I have the pressure points too. Hopefully I'm gonna have an ACL soon. So that's a great way of moving around, you know, different chord progression and even quantization with the pressure points.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been preaching this approach, you know, and everywhere where I can. I think it's particularly fun, and like when I'm writing here. Let me actually. I'm gonna. Hopefully this doesn't pick up on my mic too bad. Just cut me off if it's bad. But I'm gonna try to play and talk. Is this okay?
Okay.
Is it sounding all right?
Good.
Okay. Yeah. So I can now. I just opened up my chords, so you can kind of hear like. Right. So, for example, I'm playing, you know, C, and because I'm quantized to the C major chord right now, this keyboard is accurate, right? But then if I jump up to F, right, I'm playing the same C chord, but it's now playing F, and it just basically makes, you know, it just changes the root of C to whatever chord you're playing. So it's actually like even easier to play because I can just keep my hand in one spot.
Wow. Whoa. Okay, quick question. Why? So for doing this with the pressure points, you would actually need only one CV out. Why did I see like all the 3 CV out patched? Where are they going? Are you using those for different things like opening filters or?
Yeah, no. So they're all they all pertain to the chords.
Okay.
So the top row. Oh, sorry. Let me. The top row is the channel that picks the chord.
Okay.
The step on Symphonian. And then I'm actually not using the third one right now, but I will. But the second one is controlling the spread of the chord. So if I turn this.
Oh, cool. Wow, yeah. That's fantastic. Wow, that gives you so many more options. Wow.
Yeah, totally.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and what I'm going to use the bottom one for then would be to control the inversion of the chord.
Wow, that's even smarter. Yeah, like you can do on the intro, on the harmonic, where you have like, wow, that's smart.
Yeah.
I'm actually teaching myself the Symphonium for free, basically through this live stream. that's the main. Okay, it's like a real-time course.
Yeah, well, and since we're talking about it, I'll give a shameless plug that I do I teach lessons over Zoom. So if anybody watching is interested in that, just get in contact with me through any links that might be attached to this. But I've had maybe 5 or 6 students, and it's great. It's like everything from if you want to talk about synthesis techniques and stuff, sound design, that's cool. But to me, I think exciting stuff is like talking about the kind of blending music theory and songwriting and composition, into modular.
That's fantastic.
And especially if you have a Symphonian, we can do it without, but it's just such a great tool.
After talking about the Symphonian, I think another key piece in your and in mine actually modular systems are all the in general WMD modules, but in particular staying with the sequencer concept is the metron. I think you agree. Especially for drums. Whatever it is, triggers. I don't know if you got both the Volterra and the Accent, but I think you got the Volterra for sure.
Well, so in all my videos, I just switched away from Metron, and
I'm sorry.
I thought I never would. No. So it just happened maybe a couple of weeks ago. It was a big decision.
What did you swap it for?
Yeah, so I mean, I still think it's the best drum sequencer.
Yeah.
And then put the accent in. You got the accents, and then the Volterras, and you've got CV.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really an amazing system. The only thing that I just kept hitting a wall on was the discrepancy of how it handles like scenes between different song parts. In I guess like concert with Hermod.
Okay.
So because in order to make all this work, right? Like I've only got two hands, obviously, and so for like the type of compositions that I'm doing, there's just a lot of things that need to change from like a verse to a chorus, and so I need to have a lot of things automated.
Yeah.
Right. And the difficult part that I found was that like Hermod can have its scenes changed through CV, through like a voltage range between 0 and 5, but then Metron can also be controlled externally, but it was like linear forward and backwards with triggers.
Okay.
And I just couldn't and it was also 5 scenes.
Yeah.
And whereas Hermod per song has 8 scenes. And it was really on my last song, Pixel Dream, which was like kind of the most complex. Compositionally. Yeah. Where I just had so many different, completely different parts. I actually had to like split up. I had to make like that song was split across 2 Metron songs.
Wow.
And like, so to be able to like playing it live, to like go in to the song, songs page, load a second one. It was like so hard. And I was like, I don't want to do that again. And so then I tested out, just getting, more Hermods. So now instead of a Hermod and Metron, I just got a second Hermod per side.
Cool.
And so now I have one Hermod that's dedicated to all my drum triggers. And I'm losing out on, I only have 8 triggers now for drums instead of 16 for Metron, but that's kind of like the biggest, only really downside to it. But cause like what's great about, the Hermod thing though, and it took a little bit of, figuring out how to do it, but with a keyboard, like if I switch to, so I go to a channel on my keyboard, and then let's see. Let me see. Maybe let me try it. Oh, here we go. Let me try out this one. Yeah. Can you hear that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, with Hermod, not only can I record drums unquantized in the same way that I can record melodies unquantized, but you can also quantize it so that it's just going to lock you to a 16th.
Can you do it real time? Is it like an input quantized too, or?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh wow, cool.
And then when I'm writing, I can just split up all the channels onto a keyboard.
Cool.
And I can just.
Fantastic. So staying with drum, what are your drum modules of choice?
Yeah. So I have, keeping with the split system thing. I think this will be the best, view for that. But I'll explain the simpler one first. Kind of on my B side, just like primarily just to be economical of space. I'm using the Squid sample.
Yeah, I have it. It's great.
Just kind of a all-in-one, drum kit. Yeah. And it also gives me a lot of just different flavor, which I think is cool. And then paired with that, maybe kind of hard to see, but I have the Bird Kids Unicorn Boom. Okay. Which is just this crazy kick drum. Okay. It's like, it's not going to come through over the stream, but this thing could shatter your windows. Wow. It's insane, but it's like, it takes up more HP than the Squid sample. But
what's his name?
It also has it's the Unicorn Boom. Okay. By
Unicorn
Bird
Boom.
Kids.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't make them anymore. Okay. And it's like, it's this really cool, I don't know if you can kind of see it. I kind of see it. Yeah. A unicorn, and then you actually I've never used it, but there's some sort of CV jack where you can plug right into its butt, which is pretty funny. Anyways, it's a lot of fun, and it's like the most booming kick I've ever heard.
Wow.
It's cool. So then on my other side, on my kind of main, actual collection of modular drums, I'm using the Entity SSF bass drum.
Yeah. Great.
Which it's got tons of different. It's really tweakable, and you can get a lot out of it. But the one thing I really love about it is it just comes with that built-in duck out and the envelope out.
Yeah.
And I use that to duck my my pad voice or anything else. Yeah. It's just super convenient.
Yeah.
For the snare, I use the Mutant Snare, and I tried out quite a few different ones, and I just like the sound of it. A lot of my, I was in my early 20s during a lot of the kind of electro, and French electro, all that kind of stuff, Justice and all that. And there's something about this snare that it's got a bit of that character to it.
Hex
so
inverter.
that's what I like about it. Yeah. And then you can barely see it because it's so tiny, but I use the 2 HP hats.
Yeah.
And that was another one where I started. 2 HP hats were the first hats I ever got, and then I was like, oh, there's tons of other hat modules, they're bigger and they have all these other options. They must be better. So I bought 4 or 5 different other hats modules and ended up coming back to the 2 HP.
Oh, I never even tried that 2 HP. I never even tried. I should try it. But I'm stuck with both the hex inverter, which I like a lot, the hi-hats, and also now with all those two new modules from WMD, both the Crucible, which is for that ride where you can trigger on the edge or in the middle, which is incredible, and also the other one, what's the name? The Chimera. Which is more like a shakery thing, And then I have a third one I think I always use that I forgot, which is, I don't know. But so you're saying that probably the 2 HP is even better.
I mean, I think it just comes down to preference. Yeah. I'm not doing anything particularly out of the ordinary with my hats. And I think people who have a more textural sound design approach to their hats wouldn't really want to 2 HP hats. But if you just kind of like them out of the box and you want a nice analog hat sound, they're good. And then so I'll hop over this part. So this is a little you might be familiar with this, the Performer. Module. So right now I'm still getting to know it. It's one of the most recent modules I got, but right now I have it just on a dedicated, hooked up to my drum bus. Okay. So this mixer is just all my drums, and then this mixer is all my melodic voices. So right now, just all my drums end up filtering through the Performer before they go to my main mixer. I might end up putting that on the end of the chain to try it, but for now I'm playing with the drums. But and then I also have this little latched switch controller, which this is kind of like I can just hit any of these buttons, and it sends all my drums through different effects chains.
Oh, that's cool.
Which I can demo that
please.
as well.
Do you have the qubit?
Should I just do it right now?
Do you have the data bender or not? The qubit data bender?
No, but I've had it in my cart to buy that so many times. I'll probably end up getting it. Because
that's what I'm actually searching for. That's why I actually bought. Does the WMD mixer has an insert somewhere? I think, or a set. I want to use the data bender on my drums, on an insert setup. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be perfect for that, and that's the first place I would try it too. Is on my drums, but I'll try giving this a little whirl here. Just trying to think of. Let's see. Maybe I'll turn my chords down.
Yeah.
All right. So you can just hear my drums, right? So, and also, I guess since we're here, I'll talk about performance-wise too. So, I have my drums programmed, right? So that beat that's playing is being programmed by her mod. It's programmed in, and then I'm using OR logic modules to combine triggers also from this 4-bricks rook, and that allows me to like add fills and improvise on top of it.
Oh, cool. Oh, wow. Wait. How does that work?
How does it work?
Yeah. So,
Yeah. So it's really probably hard to see because it's under all these cables, but it's just really, I mean, these aren't even like, they're these IntelliGel or OR logic modules that don't even require power.
Okay.
And basically it just, will take any triggers and combine them together.
Okay.
But then if there's two triggers that happen at the same time, instead of like adding the voltage together and then maybe sending too much voltage to your module, it just like keeps it at 5 volts.
That's great.
And then that just allows like triggers to come from multiple sources.
Fantastic.
I mean, there's like I could have a third source if I wanted, but I don't need it. But so then I've got my drums going. I can. Right, and then I could even.
Oh, cool! Wow!
Right, so that's why I put it right there.
That's super cool. Wow!
Right, and then I can throw down on using these latch buttons. I'll throw everything through. I've got like 2 effects chains here, right? So.
Whoa! Wow.
Right.
Actually, OshDG, like the user OshDG was asking, are you using any of the character changes like lo-fi or bit crunch included in the performer module? And you are actually showing that right now. Yeah.
Well, so that was actually what that was coming from was
something
that
else.
Effects chain.
Yeah.
Has is a SSF autodyne, and I'm just like compressing the crap out of everything, and then it's going through the noise engineering Veal Ruina.
Yeah.
Which is
Latin.
Crazy. It's like a filter / distortion.
Yeah.
And then so but it it's kind of like there's some bit crushy stuff, but I would like to use those color effects on Performer, but so far I'm like, in order to access that, it's just such a tiny button that I'm like, I don't know if I'd be able to get to that performing live. Like to me, it's it's hard enough to like just get to these big buttons. And so then the other effects channel chain that I have for my drums is a Ritual Electronics Miasma.
Oh wow, I didn't
distortion,
know that. Wow.
And then I don't know how to pronounce it right, but it's the Chaos Devices phaser module that they have. So I'll show you what that sounds like.
Whoa. Cool.
Yeah. And again, these are kind of works in progress. Like, I might switch that stuff up. I'm still kind of trying to find, and depending on the song, but, so then, moving on to finish off what other drums I'm using. I'm using Fracture for clap.
I love it. I have it. I love it.
Yeah, love it.
Love it.
And then as you mentioned earlier,
just the spread. Sometimes you play with both. Another like the pitch and the spread, and you have this huge like so fragmented like the name. You're like but then it becomes almost like a pattern. So
totally,
it's fantastic. I mean,
it's such a versatile,
the guy is
cool
killing
module.
it. WMD is killing it. I mean, I remember WMD like 8 years ago. It was basically a guitar pedal. I remember when I bought my first the Distraction that pedal. That they did the Euro modular later. What's the name? The like nuclear distraction, whatever. Was like a distortion module.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then suddenly they started putting module after module, but with like a smart, approach, like all these sample-based module, they don't actually, you don't even think they're samples, because the way that they made, the controls work. I mean, it's very smart, Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
The architect is great too, even if it's not as obviously. I just got it, and it's always like placebo for not getting the symphonion. At the very end, I'm gonna get the symphonion, and everything is gonna be in one piece. But still,
Yep.
yeah.
Architect, I had an architect, and that was one of the, before Symphonian, that was one of the pieces I was always trying to get, harmonizing with other things. But like as a standalone module, it's really cool. And that was one of the modules that like, maybe I wasn't getting what I wanted in my head, but it always like, it can throw out really cool, logical, like beats, like melodies.
You know what? Especially triggered by the Metron. So that the Metron and a lane becomes, the trigger, the step trigger. So then you avoid a step, and the arpeggiator, even if it's creating his own arpeggio, skips that step. So it's very creative in tandem with a Metron. So watching your videos, it seems to me that another key part of your live performance is using the emblematic, what's the name? The flow,
the catalyst.
The catalyst, yeah. And I actually bought one pretty recently, and I mean, it's such an easy idea that no one ever did really well like they did, like 8, are they 8? I think there are 8, like 8 different CV parameters that you can basically with a DJ, how do you call it, fader. Yeah, exactly. It's such a, it's so, and it's so smooth that you change between, I would use that on reverbs plus pitch of the kick drum all together with a filter, and suddenly everything changes, like the whole song changes. Yeah. It's so great.
Exactly. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, like the name of the game that I found, when trying to approach a kind of all-in-one system that can do it all, is that like, you need to have things like singular touch points that change multiple things at one time, and the Catalyst is exactly that. It's just really great for like being able to quickly, either gradually with the crossfader, or just like it's just about slamming it over. And you just instantly you can change 8 different parameters throughout your system in one go, and it's super powerful. Like I ended up getting 2, a second one,
obviously.
Like I've got like this is the they have like 2 different fader types.
I know.
And so I've got one of the kind of
the
cheaper
old one,
faders, and then I've got one of the DJ style ones.
Is it the same, or do you feel the difference? Do you feel like the difference between
There's a huge difference.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And like I could probably have been fine without the
DJ,
the expensive one, but like there's certain applications that this will be better for. Like obviously, like it just moves so quickly that you could do a lot more like shorter time span changes, whereas like this one is smoother, but it's maybe more about like a one big change every now and then, versus like trying to actually play it like a scratch, like a DJ would.
Okay. What's your go-to instead, oscillators, or your preferred like modules of generating melodies? Or
we can go up and
please
take a view at that. So all my oscillators are up here. I've got a little hole because I'm waiting on a new one to come in. But
is it a secret one? Secret one, or can you tell us? Can you tell us?
I can talk about it. It's the Castor and Pollux by Winterbloom or Winterblom.
Okay.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's basically a Juno.
Oh, cool.
Roland Juno inspired module. It's two VCOs in one, and then it even has like a little chorus effect on it as well, to kind of get that flavor of the Juno that's so iconic, that the little chorus effect. It sounds cool, and I'm excited. It's got a
let's give an answer to Hester that's asking, how long did it take to have all these modules? I think it's a work in process, by the way. It's constantly selling and buying, but
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to, it's basically like 7 years
Yeah.
to get to here. Yeah, as we were kind of talking before this started a little bit, and I mentioned I do have this little side case, but it's like it's not part of like my, this is a complete system, and then this side case has some spillover voices that I can, when I'm writing, I can quickly audition, a couple things and see if maybe I want to swap something out that's in here for over here. So I'll talk about those real quick since I brought it up. But
Please.
I've got a kind of a little mini ACL block up here. I've got, mini, their modules are big, but I've got the multifunction discrete VCO, which is really crazy. And then their smaller variable sync VCO, their filter, and this is some envelopes for that. I've got the Curtis Iteritas Persido, which I'm trying to tame. Very hard to tame.
Yeah.
But hopefully, and there's got the Erica Synths baseline. Yeah, go ahead.
There's another module that's very hard to tame, which is I don't know if you have it, the Schlappy, what's the name, 100 grit, the distortion module. Did you ever see that?
I just sold it. Yeah.
Well, I like it, but I mean, once you're operating very quick and you just want to have this crazy distortion, but sometimes it's so hard to tame and to find. It seems that the operating, levels, it's hard, sometimes, So you sold it.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
totally. Say something again. I just had like some.
What?
Oh, 1 second.
No worries.
I've got a monitoring issue. 1 second.
No worries. Take your time. By the way, I was telling you that really the 100 grit, like sometimes I find myself like, basically it's self-generating distortion through feedback, basically, the 100 grit. So when I'm trying to like just have like an oscillator to be simply distorted, I just unplug it and then go.
Yeah. Okay, so, I think my sound's back. But I'll let you know, because it's like I would suddenly start having a hard time hearing it in my ear. So to finish off, and then basically I've got like a Erica Synths little fusion collection here, which those were something that I had seen for a while and I never thought I would get into, but then last year I just was going on this crazy distortion kick, and that's why I got the 100 grit for a while. But I was buying like all sorts of different distortion modules, and then I got these, and they are really cool if you're into flavors of distortion.
That's great.
So moving over to my main system, the stuff that I have in here now, kind of my main mono single voices are, I'm just really into the Bird Kids, everything they've made, which isn't a ton, but I've got two of their, I don't ever know if I pronounce it right, but batelier voices. And then this is the Bird Kids Raven, which is a two oscillator voice. And then all three of these also have a filter built in as well. And I would describe them as being like Moog inspired, but having their own character. And they're just really rich and beefy, and I like them. And they can be really intense, but then they can also be very pretty. Other than that, as I mentioned earlier, like I've kind of got this two systems in one setup. And one thing that I don't share is each of the sides has its own quad VCO for chords. On the left side, I've got the Doepfer quad VCO, which sounds great. And you get like triangle, square, and saw out. And that's going into a System 80 Jove filter, which I love.
Wow. I was trying to get one. It seems to be sold out too, I think. Yeah.
And actually, if I were getting one now, though, I would try to get they have like a
the smaller one,
smaller version.
I know.
That's really cool. Yep. Over on this side, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm actually borrowing the Instro Psych
I have it.
from
It's
a
great.
friend. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if Nick, if you're watching, thank you. I'm really enjoying trying it out.
It's mine.
But he's a member of the DivKid Discord,
Cool.
Which is the Discord that I hang out the most in.
Cool.
And highly recommend anybody to jump in to that. It's super fun, good group of people in there. But when I don't have the Psych there, I'm using the Qubit Chords V2.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So digital, it's, it doesn't sound as good, but it still sounds great, and it's digital. I never have to worry about tuning. That's going into an All Right Devices Zorb, which I don't hear too many people talking about, but it's actually really like capable, great sounding filter that's got a lot of extra tricks in it that are helpful. And then other stuff.
I remember you have an Odessa. Somewhere you have an Odessa.
I did.
Yeah. Oh, you did. Wow, you're faster than me into buying and selling.
Yeah.
I am too.
Yeah, I go quick. Like that was another thing. Like back to your question about, what really enabled me to like start to make the system that I needed to, to do what I wanted to do, is that I just decided that instead of like, being too timid about buying stuff and trying it, that it was better for me to just like, like you can use, if you like buy with PayPal, you get like 6 months of interest-free time to pay it off. And I just decided like, you know what, I'm just gonna like, buy, if I think I might use it, just buy it, and then I just sell it if it doesn't work out. And like, so it's like my budget for modular, I just kind of have built in that like, 20% of my budget is just going to renting modules basically. Right? And I'm okay with that because it's gotten me to know what I want and what works for me so much faster than
I agree with you. Even
I don't want to.
Even when you're able to have like, and probably in the I don't know about the Sacramento area, but in San Francisco and in Los Angeles, we have a pretty good array, of great shops to go. But one thing is like trying 2 minutes at perfect circuit audio. I mean, with COVID, it's even harder to try something, but still. And one thing is having that in your system patched to whatever you want to patch, and then also grow with a module for at least a couple of weeks. Some of these modules are hard to grasp at the beginning, especially if it's a model that's complex, or like the Symphonion, I think, it's pretty like comprehensive, what it does. So I'm buying a lot and selling a lot too. And sometimes, like you said, you discover that a module that is not very talked about, then you love it because it's doing something you really needed in that specific area of your modular, or like a super popular module, you don't understand why everyone is fussing about this. Or, I mean, I understand why everyone is loving it, but I don't care personally because that area is already been, covered by something else. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of that, listen, receiving these boxes, opening the box, and there's also that crazy gear acquisition syndrome that we all like, So yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And,
so
I think that like,
why did you sell the Odessa?
Really just to fund something else.
Okay.
I can't remember what. Like I just hit a point where I had, you know what it was really like I sold quite a bit in the last 3 or 4 months. But it's because you won't be able to see it, but right over here I have another desk with LZX modules. Are you familiar with?
Yeah, I am totally familiar, but I never ventured because I think it's it's dangerous. Because I think if I start,
and it is.
Whoa! Tell me about it, like quickly, like just how.
Yeah, so I just I remember like way early back, like when I was talking about kind of discovering Eurorack at all, like 7 or 8 years ago on YouTube, and like discovering LZX because I'm work professionally in commercial filmmaking, so all my background is in visual side of stuff, and I've done like VJing and stuff a long time ago, and I remember like I was like getting into music and synthesizers and stuff, and then into Eurorack. And then I was like, oh my God, they have video synthesis modules. And I went like, I just forced myself like, don't look at that. Yeah. You can't touch it. You're not going to, don't. And I put it off till all this time until, sometime last year in the middle of the year. And then I finally decided, I dipped my toe in and fell in the rabbit hole.
So can we expect new videos of like Second Breakfast using those LZX modules?
That's the plan. Yeah, exactly. That's the plan. I mean, not necessarily that I'd be like playing them live in conjunction with music. I mean, who knows? But it was really about just as I try to kind of as you see on the loop that's playing, like I try to have as much of like a visual story side to my songs as the music, and I try to do something different with each song. And so my thought was that there could be a cool way to blend video synthesis with music for some videos. So that was a plan.
That is great. I want to ask you just a couple more questions, and let me actually read. There's a couple of questions that here people are actually writing. Jumping back, is Aussie DG is still talking, I think, about the performer or something. Jumping back to the drum bass FX chain, how do you avoid Veal Ruina from pulling bass out of the mix?
That's a good question, and if anybody has the answer, because I'm actually dealing with that right now. Yeah, at this point it was kind of like I put it to settings that like kind of lean into that low end being removed as part of the effect. But that is an issue with it. I mean, what comes to my mind off the top of my head is to somehow I could like molt out my kick drum and have that always like bypass the Veal Ruina so that it kind of just ends up being blended back together. That'd be what I would try first.
Cool. So what kind of modules are you really excited about? Future modules, I mean, that's coming up modules. Is there something, are you actually a super, you cited the Discord, the DivKit Discord, server. Are you also like a big reader of Muff Wiggler or other like modular forums, So the anticipation that sometimes Muff Wiggler creates about like new threads about something, is there something you're really looking forward to?
I mean, not a specific module, but at this point, it's because I'm feeling like, for as much as gas is a part of, and as much as gas got me to this point, for sure. As my system has I've kind of figured out the intention of my system and how I like to play. Things don't change that much. Like, I don't anticipate any big sweeping changes. Like the only things that, are easy to swap out or that kind of entice me would be like new, interesting oscillators, or filters, but none come to my mind. But like what really is, I'm always excited about is new modules that are geared towards performance. So like something like the Catalyst, pressure points.
I think you have a planar too. Yeah, the joystick.
I did. I just sold it to to a guy in the Discord. But
oh, wow.
I mean, that was one where that was I feel like I was that I don't have a good reason for why I let that go, other than that I just like wasn't with between two catalysts, like like kind of a more linear, just like A and B. I was finding more useful than the planar. It just in terms of how I work. Like I think planar is good if you're getting really intricate with sound design. You can do a lot of cool stuff with it. So I just let that one go. But that's a perfect example of a performance module, or any modules that are like take into account that what's the best way of saying this? Like there's a lot of modules that I think are cool, but I can't use because like they don't have any sort of way to like
Be integrated in your
store
setup.
a preset.
Okay.
Yeah, like and in the sense of the or can that can be controlled, like to switch all its settings, via CV. Like a perfect example is the Acid Rain Maestro.
I love it. I have it. I love it.
Yeah. So that's a module that like, ooh, that really piques my interest. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
But the only thing it's missing for me would have been a CV in that'll allow me to change between the different presets without having to touch
load.
Right?
To type load. Yeah.
And so because it's like I can only have my hands on, like I've said a few times already, like two things, and I don't want to have my hand necessarily on that, right? So if I could have been able to throw CV into that, and when I switch from a verse to a chorus, it changes its pattern, I'd probably have two of those in my rack. But so anything that's like performance based and then kind of keeps the like some sort of larger system needs to be controlled from the outside because they know you are using this in tandem with a lot of stuff, modules. Like a lot of modules are designed, like you can kind of tell that they're like there's a certain mindset of how they're going to be used in mind, that's like where you only have X amount, a certain size modules, and like you're willing to take this new module as being a central thing that you're going to be playing with, right? Not like something that's part of a much bigger system.
What about so did you explore? I mean, I understand that you love the Her mod, and I understand why. I have an Her mod too, so I understand. Did you explore all the other kind of I went through all the sequencers, because I love sequencers. So I bought a lot, I sold a lot. I also had what's the name of the East European guys, the guys that do the Poly 2, the sequencer, the preset also module, polyend. The external polyend. Also I explored a lot of the Spanish guys, the Eloquencer for winter modular, the Nerd sequencer, also the polyend tracker that they did. But to me it's all, Her mod is pretty new for me, and I had the pyramid. I had the Scorp, the external pyramid.
Okay,
and I can't wait to start, digging into the Her mod. For now, to me, it's about Metron. It's about the 512 vector. 512 vector sequencer really. It doesn't want to be what her mod is. It's actually quite the opposite. It's about focus a lot on probabilities, chances. It's numerology in a hardware box. And I love that kind of approach because I was never a chances guy. I was never a probability guy. I never used live too much. I always into Pro Tools where there's no chances or probabilities inside the MIDI sequencer inside. So now it's like I'm a kid and I'm discovering for the first time the use, both in the Metron and in the 512, the use of two layers in the Metron. Actually, it's interesting, of probability. So if that happens, that doesn't happen. If that happens, but that happens, it's so cool, like for reviving drum patterns that are static, or even on the 512 to create in-key melodies that are, the probability is not only about happening or not happening, but also changing the note or moving forward wow, my brain is exploding. So what I want to say is that maybe something even cooler is going to come in the next few years or months regarding performance/sequencer. So that could probably change your mind about the Her mod, or who knows, like what kind of hybrid, system between like performing live but also capturing the performance and then maybe quantizing or assigning, that everything that's digital. What I want to say now, it's the real revolution of the last couple of years in the modular world, because we were so accustomed about the big sound, the power, the raw, but now with digital we can do so many crazy things, and still preserving the sound. And I'm excited about that. I didn't see a lot of Schweiman modules. You don't seem to be in love with Schweiman.
I am, but I just didn't really I was too late to the party on figuring out why those are so great. So it hasn't been You know, I haven't seen any come up for sale that
It's hard.
are with that I want to pay for. That
I
price
sold
for.
mine for like 3 times, like 2 times the price on Reverb. It's crazy. They go for like, and I
Yeah.
sold a VCA. I sold one of the. I kept an ADSR, actually the CTG-VG, which is actually cooler than the ADSR VC2 because it can do the cycle thing, a la bucla, you know, so you can cycle the ADSR, and it's so transienty. It's so full of attack. It's incredible. You can that's one of the crazy stuff about the CTG-VG. I forgot the real name. Wait, CTG-VC. Okay, which is the single ADSR from Schweiman. The VC2 is softer. It's still great, but it's softer. But I think I sold the VC2 for like $1,200, like unused modules, you know. And the VCA is great. I always keep one VCA. I mean, I wasn't understanding fully Schweiman up until I got the VCA and heard what a clean VCA can sound like, you know. It's incredible. It's almost like, you know, when you buy the new synth and you play something and it's so pristine, you know, the sound, it's like that, you know. Even if the Pittsburgh, you know, structure, you know, cases that I'm using, they have actually 2 VCAs and they are inside, you know, in the 1 unit module, and they sound really great, you know. That's a big plus of these cases, that they have attenuators, they have, you know, 6 inputs, and they have logic modules and 2 VCAs with CV, you know. So but the Schweiman is like that, and the filters, you know, I sold my filters, but there's one particular one that I think it's called MMF6, something like that. Sounds incredible, you know. Unfortunately, you know about Schweiman that they have the flipped power cable, ribbon cable. Yeah. So the first time someone like tries Schweiman, it's very easy. I mean, it's not easy now because I think they put like some kind of protection, you know, so you can't blow them up. But I remember at the beginning it was easy to blow them up.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And now that you mentioned it, like I did have the like kind of all the VM1S, which was like
the pre.
It was
No,
like
it's like. Was it a pre or?
It's basically
or
no,
no?
It was basically
the recreation of the old Bode filter. Like no. Yeah. Let me see.
It was well, it's basically like a little all-in-one mini synth. I was using it. It was the lead voice on the Imaginary Friends that's playing right now.
Okay.
So it's basically, it's got like the oscillator, a filter, and an envelope all built into one. And it was cool. It was just when I had it, and for what I paid for it, like I didn't. Like I thought it was cool, but not like oh, I totally get it.
No $1,000 cool.
Yeah, and it was like you know, and I think that probably comes down to like that I wasn't using it in an interesting enough way to really like find all those corners where they really, you know, where where it shines. So I just decided to sell it. And
what about mutable instruments?
Yeah, I mean, give me 1 second because my heater kicked on, and I'm worried that it's like
it's gonna blow everything,
messing up the sound.
In the meantime,
okay, it'll go off in a sec. Yeah, mutable. I mean, at earlier iterations of I'm trying to look around and see what I still have, but you know, I was all over mutable stuff like most people are, and I had, you know, pretty much everything, you know, or like 70% of their modules, but at this point, like it's kind of phased out. I still have like grids, which I think is an amazing, like just performance, you know, centered module. And now what I use it for, I don't have it patched up now, but it's kind of like I just have a lot of the triggers going to a QPAS, and it's like a little like, you know, bongo machine.
I love the QPAS. I love the pingable. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So just ping in the QPAS, and then I can just send it, you know, all these different rhythms and do a little improvisation with that. And then I've got a Stages, just a nice form factor of oh, you can't see it, of envelopes. And then like a Veals over here, and I think that's about it that I have left. But yeah, I mean, huge respect for mutable stuff. Very innovative. I don't have it anymore. I did sell it, but I kept the marbles for a long time, even though I wasn't doing any sort of like generative stuff anymore. But I had like a little palette case, the Untitled palette case, and to me that was like the perfect thing. Throw that into a palette case, throw a couple extra things in it, and you could really just sit down and go with whatever comes up. And
did you ever explore some West Coast like Buchla? I mean, you seem to be, and not that close, but with Berkeley, where like I bought a 200E system just 2 years before Buchla died, and actually Don was the guy actually building with his team, so I was actually exchanging emails with him, and I was so in love with it, but it was so hard to grasp at the beginning because of the terminology. Terminology is like, he calls it source of uncertainty, his random thing, or he calls like, so at the beginning, and it was actually in 2009, so I was just starting with a modular, so it was already hard to grasp the concepts, and then suddenly this 200E 3-boat system, or 4 actually, 1, 2, 3, maybe 3, I don't know. Like I remember I spent $22,000, like a crazy amount of money. Yeah. But I made records with it. I was able to make records, and the sound of it, of that complex waveform generator, I had both. I mean, it's very specific. You can do everything. It has a sound. The bus, that's connecting all the modules, is quirky but great at the same time. The fact that they divide the audio from the banana jacks with different like connection, it's smart on one side. So did you ever like play with it
I've had 2 complex oscillators. Okay. I had that came with the shared system. Yeah. So I had the DPO for a while. Yeah. And right now I have the Further generator by Endorphins. Yeah. So in terms of exploring that world, it's kind of like through how it's been kind of recreated within Eurorack. But the only I was never tempted to go full Buchla system, but I think it's cool, and I respect like the difference of view, the approach and the mindset. What I would get and would be I always wanted a music easel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm craving for that too.
Ever do it?
I'm craving for that too. Yeah. I agree with you.
Have you been to the Synthesizer Museum in like basically Oakland?
No, never.
Oh man, yeah. If you're next time you're up in the Bay Area, definitely make an appointment and go there. I rented it for my birthday quite a few years back. Wow. They have this amazing. I mean, every piece of vintage fantastic gear you can think of. It's this guy like had a crazy collection. And I think like him and his son, and then at some point they decided to they bought this old recording studio from that they didn't change, so it's very 70s looking studio. It's really cool, and just put all the synths in, hooked up, and then you can rent it, and it's not terribly expensive at all. It's very affordable. Wow. You can just rent it for a few hours or the day, and you can go in there and just play with whatever you want. And then they even have they've got an iMac with Pro Tools and Ableton and everything. And so a lot of musicians use it to actually record, record their demos and then go in and buy a couple of days and then record all their parts with all these synths. So it's a really cool resource in the Bay Area.
Fantastic.
I think you would, it's right up your alley. So
I'll do it for sure. Triche Music is asking, what is the module that you would never sell? Her mod, maybe?
Symphonian.
Symphonian, you're right.
I'd say,
both.
I would never sell Symphonian. I mean, her mod in terms of what I use it for, you would come, but Hermod. A lot of people try Hermod and then it's not for them. So those are like always available to buy cheap. So I wouldn't be as worried about it. I could sell Hermod and know I could buy one, you know, the next day if I wanted.
Brett, it was such a pleasure to have you. You know, I loved every single minute of it. I learned a lot, and I think you're actually causing my gear acquisition syndrome to be even worse, you know, because I'm gonna go and buy those Logic modules for sure, that FX, you know, insert that you got there, maybe even the Performer that I never really went into it, and then I'll actually text you privately later to ask you about a couple more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, apologies, but you know, for your wallet. But yeah,
I have one more question. Sorry, I have the last question for you. You seem to be very well organized with your wiring, with your cable. Why? Because with my cables, it's always a mess. You know, what kind of cables are you using?
That's a great question. So I mean, I think the reason I'm so organized is I just have like a I really like taking a lot of care with how I patch stuff, and so it makes me patch really slow. But I like to keep it as tidy as possible. And one element of that was going all in on these particular type of cables, which are tendrils cables.
How'd you spell it?
They're based in Tendrils.
Okay, tendrils. Okay, good.
I mean, yeah, I'm even
you were wearing it. Wow.
Sporting the shirt.
Wow, look at this.
I'm like kind of partnered with them at this point. But you know, I had gone all in and switched to all tendrils before I got in contact with them. But they've just been really supportive and like, you know, just kind of keeping me supplied. From that point forward, but so it was a total organic thing, like but it's the difference being and let me see if I can I'll switch to
this,
you know,
wow, so super flat
but
and thin,
so it's like a right angle head, and then the other thing is then the gauge of the wire is really thin. And so the right angle like makes the cable lay flat against your modules versus stick out, and so that it gets past that problem of like once you get a big patch going that like it's hard to get to your modules sometimes. Like the cables are sticking over the knobs, and this way they kind of like lay lower than the knobs.
Fantastic.
So it's been just like a major key to unlocking like the playability of my system.
Great, Brett. Have a great day. Hope to like hear from you very soon. Once you have like something new, we can maybe even do a new live stream, like an update in a couple of months about new modules. The whole system is going to be totally different, both yours and mine, except for the Symphonion and something else.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so and hopefully the next thing that I'll be coming out with will be that transition from, you know, putting out a single song to really like unveiling how playing the, you know, multiple songs in a single performance. So, you know, if you want to chat again, I'm sure I'll have a lot of notes for how that ultimately panned out. But that's the plan, is to you know, go for to be able to play a full show.
Will do, for sure.
In person or over the internet.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's the next step.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll put back that nice video that you sent me, so just to close up the thing, you know.
Okay, great.
Bye. Have a great day. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.